Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. It's a delight to see you. My name is Tim Graham. I'm the Dean of the Business School. It's a delight to have you here tonight with a very important topic, certainly near and dear to my heart, as I have found myself in a similar situation, which is being in commerce as a couple. And so I look forward to seeing what God has to say tonight. Before we do anything else, let's take a moment, let's bow our heads, and let us pray. God, we're grateful to you for this time we have to share. We thank you for these speakers who have prepared, and we pray, Lord, that you would allow them to speak in ways and encourage us and also encourage each other as we seek to honor you. We know you're able to do all things. We ask you to do it, Lord, that you would get glory out of this event and out of this time we have together. We ask it in Jesus' name. Amen. So before we get started, I wanted to thank a couple of folks who helped to make this event possible tonight. I always like to start by thanking the wonderful team from Conferences and Events. Can we give God some praise for Conferences and Events tonight? They always do a great job. Thank you so much. We also have our faculty here with us tonight, represented by Dr. Darnell Shell. So let's give God some praise for him as he's here, and we thank God for him sharing and for bringing his class. So what I'd like to do tonight now is to take an opportunity to share some context for the business school. So we exist here at CBU because we believe that business can be done in a way that honors God and people while still making a profit. And there is no better example of the need to honor God and people than being in business with your spouse. It's one thing to do business and try to make money, but it's another when you have to look at the person next to you who knows you the best and give account for what you've done and whether what you've done is honorable or not. In addition to that, there's the joy of being involved that's a bit different than just being in business partnership with people who you may know. So to tell us more about this and to introduce our speakers tonight, please welcome our industry liaison, Dawn Carter.
Awesome. Thank you, Dr. Gramling, and thank you for coming on out tonight. And I hope that our prayer is that you get to walk away with at least one or two nuggets that you can go, yeah, that was really, really something that God had for me tonight. So without further ado, I'd like to bring up our panelists. And if you, panelists, would you like to come on up and grab a seat? And then I will go ahead and do intros. I think we might have to share one microphone. I'll sit over here, and then you can sit over there. Yeah, I think we only have 4. So, welcome. So, thank you for coming on out, panelists. I know you have busy lives and a lot of responsibilities. So let me first begin by introducing Joe and Heidi Stance, right here, Heidi and Joe. And Joe and Heidi are natives of Riverside. I just found out they went to Poly, right? And are the founders of Stance Commercial Real Estate, a company dedicated to transforming the commercial real estate industry with integrity and service. Joe started his real estate career in 2007 and later gained experience at major brokerage firms before launching Stance in 2018. So Heidi holds an educational doctorate, yay, and transitioned from her career to joining Joe in managing the business. Together, they balance community service, family life, and professional achievements. So thank you for coming on out. And then to their right, we have Kendall and Leigh Morris, who are both alumni of CBU. Leigh is a licensed labor and delivery nurse who founded Lee's Kitchen LLC, a thriving sourdough cottage bakery launched in 2024. Kendall, a senior manager at PricewaterhouseCoopers, and is also a captain in the U.S. Army Reserve, specializes in human capital impacts of mergers, change management, and organizational design. Together, they balance their professional achievements with family life while actively contributing to their communities. Can you guys welcome them, please? So we're going to go ahead and just get started with some of these questions. And just to give us a little bit of context, number one, Heidi, can you tell us a little bit about your career path and how did you decide to become a business owner?
So my career path, as mentioned, started in the education world. I taught almost everything from kindergarten to 8th grade for 14 years and became an assistant principal in Fontana Unified. And then God just wanted to do a 180 right after I got my doctorate from USC, and decided to launched our business in 2018. So giving up that 6-figure paycheck and that security of having those benefits for life. But when God calls you, you go. And so then we launched in 2018.
Nice. How about you, Joe?
Yeah, my career path was a lot different. I don't have my educational doctorate degree. I got my education from the School of Hard Knocks and prospecting for commercial real estate deals door to door throughout the Inland Empire. I started with a brokerage, NAI Capital, in 2007, right before the Great Recession. And I worked for 2 mainstream brokerage houses for 10 years. And then we launched our brokerage in 2018 and haven't looked back.
Nice. Thank you. How about you, Amberly?
So I came here to CBU and I got my bachelor's in nursing. And I have worked at Loma Linda in labor and delivery for 5.5 years. Currently on maternity leave. But I started full-time and then I switched to part-time when we had our second baby. And then when we found out we were pregnant with our third last year, I switched to per diem. And about the same time, I started offering bread to my neighbors and friends and family. And then it just kind of took off from there. So after about a month of selling bread regularly, I said, okay, we should probably do this the right way. So filed for an LLC, got more of a business structure into it.
Nice. And how about you, Kendall?
Yeah, so I also went to CBU, 2-time alumni, and started my career in the nonprofit space, working in human resources. Found a love for human resources. I love people, and so just wanted to continue that career path, moved my way up through a couple of different organizations before I wandered my way into the consulting world and doing mergers and acquisitions consulting specifically for HR integration, separation, and human capital considerations in acquisitions. And so, and all that balancing, the military, enlisted in the military straight out of high school, so I've been in the reserve for about 12 years now. And got into the small business because my wife said, hey, I want to start a small business. And so naturally, I also become a part of that small business.
Oh, that's awesome. So I guess one of the questions that we're kind of curious about is what role, or how do you balance your roles as business partners? I mean, I know with some family businesses, people just can't turn it off, when you, but when it comes to having a marriage and maintaining a healthy relationship, what have you learned that has helped you handle challenges?
Yeah, I'll start. So logistically, you just have to talk with each other, and you have to set a little bit of boundaries. So, for example, Joe and I decide lunchtime is a time where we sit down, we talk business. We talk what's going on in the day, who do we need to talk to about our clients, and just to be clear, we help people buy, sell, and lease commercial real estate. That's what we do. So when you hear commercial real estate, sometimes you're like, what does that even mean? That's what we do. So it's very client-facing. It's going on tours. It's we're moving in and out of our house often, and so we decided that lunchtime, business, talking business. But right before bed is talking about who's taking our 4-year-old tomorrow, who's picking him up, what are we doing, how do we get through the next day, right? So that becomes husband and wife talk, and then during the day is business, unless something pops up and we can talk about other things as well.
That's awesome. So you have that expectation. You already know
Yes.
that we're going to have that time.
Yes, we do. We set that, and we chalk that out, and we both agree that that's the time to talk.
It keeps me in line. Right, I'm more of the visionary, and she's more of the planner, and I think there's a complementary personality types there, right? I'm kind of just I want to push the industry forward. I want to push our company forward, and she's like, okay, what's the plan? And so, and when's the time to talk about the plan, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's amazing having a partner in your life like that.
That's nice. It sounds like that balance is really something that's pretty like God ordained. I mean, that he.
Yeah, it took a little while though. We're 7 years in. It was not like this the first couple of years, let me tell you. And I'm like, what's happening? He's like, I thought we were doing great. I'm like, no, I don't have a plan. We don't have anything. No boundaries of talking about everything. So now we figured it out.
How about for you too?
Yeah, I think it's awesome seeing like the strengths and Amber Lee's a labor and delivery nurse, and so when she says, "Hey, I want to start this small business," and all the components, she had done like all of her research on it. She was like, "Oh, well, this is what I need. This is hey, a cottage food permit is this this is how I do it, and this is how I file for the LLC." I'm like, wow, like she has so many things figured out. And so it was really cool to see like her strengths in like running the business and planning for those things ahead of time, and then just bouncing off of each other's strengths when it comes to like I'm a numbers guy. Like I spend so much of my day in spreadsheets and looking at compensation or whatever it might be, and so my whole goal with this whole thing was to leverage my strengths in terms of efficiency and tracking and all of that to help her focus on what she needed to focus on, which is the ingredients and like purchasing all the products she needs, improving her recipes or whatever it might have been. So it's really cool to see as we go throughout this process, and we're still very early on, but go throughout this process and leveraging each other's strengths and weaknesses and finding, okay, well, you're not very strong here, so let me step in, or I'm not very strong in this area, so she's going to step in. And so that's been a really fun part of the process to see how it evolves over time.
What is your favorite loaf? Just out of curiosity. Yeah.
I'm very partial to just a classic sourdough.
Okay.
If I had to pick, I think I would pick that every time. What about you?
Mine 100% garlic parmesan.
There you go.
It's something else.
You're getting us kind of hungry here, but that's pretty awesome. I just can't imagine what your house smells like. Or your
Like a
neighbor.
bakery.
Do your neighbor? Yeah. Do your neighbors know about your industry? I mean, because you've got clients picking up loaves, right?
Yes. Every Tuesday, people come to our house and pick up bread off of our porch. So my one neighbor to our left has ordered bread a handful of times, so she knows. One time I actually had to go borrow some raisins because I had orders for cinnamon raisin and I ran out of raisins. So I was like, "Can I borrow some raisins? I'll buy you more." And then I made her a loaf of bread in return. Anyways,
Nice.
Yeah.
I love it. That's probably a random question, but I love sourdough bread. I think everyone got into sourdough bread during COVID. I don't know. Did anyone else experiment with that?
A lot of people, but ironically, not me.
Oh, really? So that is really funny. Yeah, I have all the stuff that's been sitting there now for 2 years. So one of the questions, I mean, we're here at Cal Baptist, and the Lord means a ton to us. So what is the role of faith in your business in terms of making decisions, or how does your faith inform how you go about, whether it's dealing with customers or anything like that?
We would not have been able to launch our company without that faith. When we finally, were being pulled in that direction, the saying we came up with was, whether he provides a bowl of rice or filet mignon, this is what we're being called to. And we know that he's going to provide. Right? And whether, even if it's simple, shirt on our back, housing, food, he's going to provide. And so that it just wouldn't even be possible without him.
Right. And Joe came up with our branding. You want to talk to her about our branding?
Yeah. So where's is our logo in here somewhere? No. Okay. So on our logo, we've got two gold posts on each side of Stance. Commercial real estate. We've got two gold posts on each side, and those posts represent that we're grounded by the golden rule. And so our saying as a company that we want to serve others the way we would be served.
Love that. So it's just like from the beginning, that was a part of your DNA.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and we're in an industry where, it's big dollars, right? And it's easy to guide people based on a commission or based on a deal, and having faith in God in this industry is just it's irreplaceable. I don't understand how anybody leads without that.
Thank you.
Exactly. And then to go one step further, we are grounded by the golden rule, and that's how we make every decision. But we also do something every single year. We take off a week of work. We still answer the phone because that's who we are. But we basically try not to schedule appointments. And we go through a book called Traction. And it is a business model. And on top of that, we use SMART goals. So SMART goals, any kind of goal setting, program that's out there that you would use and that you think is reputable, use it. But we use SMART goals. So SMART goals stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. And that's how we make goals for our company. And of course, we make sure that they are morally, ethically sound goals that we're moving towards. And both of us know we're on this track. We're going towards these goals in our business. We have goals for our business. We have goals for our marriage. And we have goals for our parenting. And we do it every year. And we make sure that we know where we're going.
That's awesome. I mean, just the proactiveness, that communication to be able to, and to do it together. It's not like this is your deal, your agenda.
Exactly.
Yeah, come up with that together. How about you? Your business is still, Amberly, your business is still so, in its beginnings and stuff. But have you come across situations where you've seen your faith inform how you do business?
Yeah, I think at its core, I mean, I'm baking bread. It's not like the hardest thing in the world, right? But the goal of it is to be able to serve my community, whether that's, neighbors, friends, family, people I don't know, et cetera, with good, real, nourishing food. And to me, that feels like an act of service to the people around me and a way to love on my community like Jesus would. And I'm not making miracles out of 5 loaves, but I mean, 50 to 60 a week is a lot of people that are getting a lot of real good bread, and then that gets poured back into the community. So that's one way. And then the other thing that has always been important to me is the reason I stepped back from nursing is to be home with my girls. They're up on the screen, I saw them. And so for me, motherhood comes first, and that's my calling right now, is to be home with them. And so I try to view this business in that lens of like, I'm not going to let this become something I do that takes over my life. I work on Mondays and Tuesdays, and then obviously like social media throughout the week. But like the big baking days are Mondays and Tuesdays. So for me, being able to show them what hard work looks like and how to love on other people, how to do my very best to look like Jesus to them while I'm doing this business is kind of the goal, and like the way that I see my faith incorporated in every loaf of bread that I make. So,
I love that. That is just really, really neat. I mean, to think that there's that much intentionality and care as you're making that. I mean, I wouldn't think that most people would, I'm just buying bread.
Right.
But to think, no, this is like the handiwork of someone who loves God and is sending that out into the community to bless them.
Yeah.
I love that.
I did a big market at the Grove last fall, and Natalie, someone took my bread on stage. There was an event, and she said, she came back and she told me, I told them you pray over the bread, so you might want to start doing that if you weren't already. And I was like, for sure.
And well, with God, there's no time or space, right?
Exactly.
So yeah, it's like retroactive prayers for the bread. That's pretty awesome.
I'll also say, and just to brag on her a little bit, just the way Amberly's great at social media and has, it's a special skill that I truly don't have. She asks me to take pictures for her sometimes. It just does not work. Not the right angle, whatever it might be, the wrong way. But her gift with social media, and as she's attracting more of a customer base and selling more and more to the community around us, without a doubt in my mind, there's people who aren't believers who are buying that bread. And what they do when they see her social media is they see, a godly mother and wife and business owner who is devoted to her relationship with God. And so that is something so cool that she can use like her bread as outreach for people to now reach out to her and see that this is a critical aspect of her life. So just an amazing thing that I've seen from it over time.
That's awesome. And it actually flows really well into the next question, which is how do you complement each other? You kind of touched a little bit on that, of how do you complement each other's strengths and weaknesses that you see, and having one of the folks in your company being very good at social and the other one's good at numbers. I mean, that's one very, very interesting ways. Are there other areas where you've specifically seen like, oh, this is why God put us together? Like,
Yeah, I would say, like from I look at things from like a business lens in terms of like when I'm working with these corporations and I'm helping, support an acquisition and integration in place. Like I'm looking at it through a whole bunch of different lenses. And so when I look at planning ahead and looking at, okay, what types of goals do you want to achieve over this much time? And so we've talked about, hey, like we need to have a day, and finding that time is very difficult with 3 kids, but we need to have a day with just us and talk about, what are her goals for the rest of this year and going into next year? What's some things that that she might want to try differently? And so, that's just an area, when I'm facilitating workshops for clients, when we have those types of discussions, I look at it in the same way. And so that's, I think, a strength that I'm able to bring to the table. And then on top of, the number crunching and helping make, things more efficient for her. And when it comes to like inventory and what she needs, like that's all her. Like I couldn't tell you what goes into most of these loaves. I mean, I know flour does, but outside of that, not sure. So and raisins, yes, we need plenty of raisins.
Yeah, I think, like you mentioned earlier, I had kind of done the research to figure out what needed to go into this in terms of owning a business and the permits that I needed and that kind of stuff, and figuring out the cost of the ingredients to determine a selling price and like all that kind of stuff. I had done that upfront work already, and then I get to take it to him and be like, this is what I think, does it make sense? So he's like my personal little consultant, and I'm just glad I don't have to pay him PWC's billing rate, because
right. I was going to say he's way out of your league.
I can't afford that, no.
That's pretty awesome. How about you, Heidi?
I think it's so interesting how many times we get asked, like, oh, you guys are married and you work together? I'm like, yeah, I married him because I want to spend 24 hours a day with him. I actually like this guy, right? So yeah, I want to spend time with him. I think it's interesting every single time. But I think just like in a marriage or in a partnership, any kind of partnership that you have, you're going to have strengths and weaknesses, and you hope that they complement each other. And if they don't, you hire someone else to pick up the slack, right? So Joe's a visionary, as you guys know. He's up here all the time.
Everyone familiar with the Enneagram?
Oh, yes, you guys ever taken the Enneagram?
Okay.
It's like personality test. Okay, so he's a 3, high achieving, like achiever. Like, this is where he wants to be all the time. And if we're like doing a good job, he's like, how do we go to great? And if we're doing a great job, how do we get to excellent, right? And I'm like, okay, great. How do I get even to good to get to excellent to get, to go the other way? So I'm planning backwards mapping where he wants to be. He wants to be here. I'm like, okay, great. Let's figure out how we're here and how we can get there. So luckily, in that sense, we do complement each other really well. I am more of like the making sure the company is running and making sure everything, the day-to-day is going at the company. And Joe is very client-facing. He knows the market so well, better than anyone else ever, like in Riverside. If you ask him about a commercial real estate building in Riverside, he knows it. And so, that's where our clients need. Our clients need an expert, and he is the expert. So I let him be an expert, and I do the other things that help him achieve.
We compare to, because commercial real estate, it's like, what's the department? So we like to compare it to a restaurant, right? Heidi's more back of the house, I'm more front of the house facing, and that's just where we've created our roles in the company, and it serves it really, really well.
That's so awesome. Have you noticed you developing some of the skills of your partner in working with them?
Saying. Yeah, I do. I know. I think we have.
She's learned the market quicker.
Yeah, that's true.
Faster. When we started talking today, I talked about going door to door, trying to find deals. Didn't really have a mentor. And I think that slowed my progress of learning the industry as quickly as having a good mentor can do.
Right.
And
I got to shadow this guy for 2 years.
You took the words out of my mouth.
I'm like, I'm listening to every phone call. We're listening to every, going on tours.
So
I got to know the market really fast.
Very quickly.
Yeah. So find a good mentor.
Yeah, words of wisdom, absolutely. That's just, yeah. How about for you guys? Have you noticed? I mean, as an example, like I am the extrovert of my marriage, and my husband is the introvert. But over the years, I've noticed like maybe I've gotten a little more settled, and he has learned to develop to be able to be more outgoing and adaptive. So how about for you guys?
Yeah, I think one, just like a very basic thing, like I learned how to shape the loaves, which
That's true.
was
That's true.
awesome. Like
Every
I was
week
like,
now
this
he's
is
like,
so
"Can I
this
do
is so
this
fun.
part?"
Yeah, can I do this part?
I'm impressed.
Yeah. So that's a blast. I think from like a social media perspective and just like understanding her planning, how she plans out the month in terms of when she's going to bake, what she's going to do for special orders. It's helping me like provide more insight into, oh, well, you know, your customer base really likes it when you do X, Y, Z. And so seeing, you know, like the special bake days that come up for holidays or whatever. And when she sends, you know, me the calendar for what the month looks like, I feel like I'm better, you know, getting to a point where I can speak into that a little bit more and say, yeah, this looks good, or hey, recommend, you know, you should do this day instead of this day because of XYZ. So just understanding like what the calendar looks like for a cottage bakery is kind of unique, and when people are going to be coming to our house to pick up bread. And so that's been great to see like me kind of develop in that area and just understand what she's doing a little bit more.
I think any of the business aspects I've picked up from him, not only from, you know, Googling like, what do I need for this, but also just understanding anything that he does all the time. Like I hear him on the phone all day long with his clients, right? Or if I just come to him with a question, he's like, okay, pull out the whiteboard. Like we got to write all this down and do all these things. So anything that has to do with business, like I said, my degree is in nursing. I'm a labor and delivery nurse. Like that has nothing to do with business, at least on the floor. So like with the moms. So anything with business, I've definitely picked up and kind of learned from him and continue to do so. And then he's like, oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say an example of that is she was trying different like CRMs out, you know, customer platforms. What does the ordering system look like? You know, she was using Square, and then she wanted to migrate to this new platform. And she had done all of this research on like, you know, side-by-side comparisons of, you know, here's what this system can do for me, and here's what this system can do for me. And then I'm asking the questions, well, is that scalable? Like if you grow significantly over the next few months, are you still going to be able to use this platform? So just looking at all the questions I would typically be asking like my clients, and she's already figured it out. And it's
I just
great.
read a lot.
I'm hearing a theme about researching and reading it. That is such a great, that's a great skill to have no matter what you're doing. So, but it also shows I think a humility of always learning. There's something I don't know yet. There's something. So excellent. So here's another question. How do you ensure that your business aligns with Christian values and principles? You kind of touched a little bit of that already, really with the golden rule and how that's even incorporated into your logo. But
yeah, absolutely. I mean, businesses, you know, if you're going to start a business, you start with a mission statement, you start with a vision statement, right? And then you have your core concepts and your fundamentally core values that you do not let go of. And those core values for us set the stage for how you interact with your clients, how you do business. And so if that aligns with who you are as a person, and ours aligns with faith and God, and that we believe that He's gonna go before us, and He's going to 100% set the stage for us, and we're just kind of going on His path, then that's where we start. And everything that we do from that point on is faith-based.
Yeah, I think, you know, we practice commercial real estate, right? Every day you want to get better and better at your practice, your craft, your skill set, and then find someone who needs that. Find somebody to give that value to, right? Give the value, and then and continue to get better at your skill set. And I think that honors God, right? You can get better at a skill set, give that value to somebody, and help them be successful or help them enjoy a loaf of bread.
one of the things that you had mentioned before is that you want to change the way the industry is done. Can you talk a little bit about what is that about? You know, in terms of does that have to do with your Christian principles or?
Yeah, I think the industry is based, it's based on a sales business model, right? The sales that the agents generate, as the agents generate more and more sales, their splits go up, right? So they get paid a higher split of the commission. And I got to a point where I realized that really they're serving two masters, because they're guiding their clients as a fiduciary, right? They have a fiduciary responsibility to guide the people, and they're also at the same time trying to hit these commission splits at their brokerage houses. And so we got to a point where the business model didn't make sense. So we switched. Actually, we created a business model. It took us about 5 years. We've been a company for 8, but we created a business model that does not pay higher splits based on sales volume. It's based on service.
It's based on our core values. So we completely designed a new pay schedule for our agents that nobody else in the industry is doing. And that's why it took us so long, because we were trying to figure out, how do we pay our agents who are independent contractors, and how do we pay them well based on service? And we were able to do it. And it's very exciting.
And as a company, we wanted to pay them more, right? If they're honoring, the clients that they're serving in that manner, as a company, we want to say, here, take it. Take the money. We don't want it.
Wow. I think this is almost like right up your area, isn't it, Kendall, in terms of compensation and those kinds of things? What do you think about this, the novelness of this? I think it's pretty revolutionary.
Oh, I think it's incredible. I've never heard anything like that in the real estate industry. But I think it speaks to, like, one of the most important things in how you keep clients coming back is how well they're taken care of. There have been clients that I wasn't able to sell them a certain project at that point in time, or sell them an additional work stream or something on a deal that they're working on. But because I built that personal connection, and I made it my personal goal to service them with excellency and make sure that they were taken care of no matter what, they came back to us in a year, and then we sold another deal. And so I think that's an incredible thing, because ultimately, if you take care of someone, they're going to come back to you. And we see that in the bread business too. If you take care of someone, and all the time, like if she gets a complaint about something, and it's not frequent at all. But my first instinct, and this goes back to like my days of working at In-N-Out Burger when I was going through college and stuff, but the first thing that I tell her is refund their order. Refund their order. Like, make sure that they're taken care of, because they're going to come back if we do that.
Yeah, you can't be concerned if God's. It goes back to, you can't be concerned if God's going to provide. If you're serving others the way you want to be served, what's there to worry about? And if you're getting better at your craft and adding that value, most people don't go about business that way, right? They go about it to try to get a paycheck. And it's just,
So you look
it's
different.
broken.
You
It's a broken
automatically
system.
look different if you're
Right.
doing it for another reason. You're not doing it for the paycheck. You're doing it to serve that person. You're giving them your knowledge, your skill, making them valuable for them. Of course they're going to want to work with you. Of course.
That's right.
I love that. I'm hearing two themes come out of the comments. One is the working as though working for the Lord, because you're going to do it with excellence. You're going to be innovating. You're going to be treating people well. But I also see you viewing your customers as created in the image of God. And I think that's, especially within the commercial real estate industry, like you were saying, people are maybe not just a means to an end. You're just not a commission, but you're, and I think that's kind of exciting, and it's here in Riverside.
That's right.
I think that's awesome. That's really cool. Well, we actually have a couple questions from the audience that people have been sending in. Thank you. So one of the questions is, let's see, what is a strength that you have when approaching business with your spouse that you might not have when working with a friend or just another business professional? Is there like an edge?
Trust, right? I mean, there's nobody I trust more in this world than my spouse.
So trust.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Trust. Awesome. Yeah. That pretty much sums it. How about for you?
I would say quality time. I mean, the amount of time that we spend together Obviously, we spend pretty much every day, every waking moment together, unless I'm traveling or I'm working or something. And so that time, I was talking to her before yesterday, and I was just saying, it's an incredible thing that like I feel more connected with her when we're talking about her business. Like it's just a bonding experience for us. And so because we have that time and we have that deeper connection in our quality time, it build like doing this business builds our relationship, and it helps us it helps our marriage too.
I think the other thing is there's no filter. So, like in a good way. So
Yeah.
I feel like if I was working with somebody, on the floor, I might be a little more cautious about what I'm saying or criticisms or whatever, and that's just not really the case. So it feels like there's a little more freedom in, hey, I don't think that's the right way to do it, or that this is a really good idea that you haven't thought of before, without wanting to like step on somebody's toes. So I do feel like that's a benefit of at least you coming to me. There's not like a wall of like, oh, I have to be very careful about the way I say this. It's just, this is what I think. And so for better or for worse,
That's great.
Yeah, it's such a blessing to work with your significant other because, Heidi was in the education world for maybe a year while we were doing 3 years or so while I was doing commercial real estate. And she would come home, and I'm like, "Oh, how was your day at work?"
Like
and she's like,
downloading
"I don't
to
want to
them.
download to you, right? Like now's not the time. I'm ready to relax." And it was the same for me, right? She'd
I'd be
ask
like,
me,
"How's
like,
it
"How
going?"
was your
She's
day
like,
at
"Oh,
work?"
I did
And
all
I'm
this
like,
stuff.
I don't want to do that right now. And now that it's easier. The conversation's easier. We're plowing in the same direction, right? We're moving in the same direction. We know what's happening in each other's lives, and it's so much easier.
It's efficient.
It's
I mean,
efficient.
in some ways.
It's the way it was meant to be, really.
That's awesome. Here's another question from someone. I think this is directed to the Stances. They ask, how do you balance your relationship when your Enneagrams are so different? Mr. Stance, do you ever feel discouraged or unsupported when Heidi pushes back on an idea of yours? For instance, I'm a visionary and my partner is a planner, so I'd love to hear your advice on how you guys overcome that, since I'm also working on starting a business.
It makes my ideas better because she pushes back on every idea. And it helps fine-tune the ideas, right? Not every idea.
I will say, though, it is a little frustrating for him sometimes, so don't get discouraged. He gets frustrated with me going, you always say no, and you always poke at my, ideas. And I'm like, well, I'm just trying to figure out how you got here, and I'm
what's
trying to
the
get us
plan,
there, right? And so I think it's okay to be different in that sense and understand that you're going to be a little frustrated. So whoever wrote that question, it's literally, I feel like you know us, because we do. We've had to work that through a little bit. So if you're struggling with that, don't worry. It gets better. It's going to make you better because you guys challenge each other.
Yeah. Yeah, I say, I think it's a song from like a long time, like the late 1900s song, but I think, the wind beneath my wings.
Wow, really going back.
Yeah, but like, even if you don't know the song, that's truly like the way I feel, right? Like there's this resistance, this wind, but she helps me rise because of those
sweet.
differences.
That's really sweet. I'm like, well, good thing this is recorded, so you can go back when you have a hard day. And
There's evidence.
Great, that's great.
I love
Wait,
the
that's
evidence.
right. She's my wind. My wind. How about for you guys?
Well said.
Okay, no, I can add to that. We are also very different in personality, and he is the same as you. He's looking like this far out, and I'm like, well, I have to do this like tomorrow. Like I'm thinking about this week. What ingredients do I need this week? How many loaves am I selling this week? And he's like, okay, but when are you going to sell 1,000? So I feel like it pushes me to be able to like dream a little bit bigger versus just like focused on like what I have to get done. So I think that's a benefit.
I love that. It really kind of reflects, going back without getting too philosophical, but back to creation, where you're like the two are becoming one, and it's not just about a physical union, but it's absolutely about becoming one whole, having both lobes, zeroing in on solving a problem. I think that's pretty beautiful. That's pretty awesome. Just a couple more questions. What advice would you give business students on developing valuable skills for working or collaborating in a business with a spouse? What would you focus on?
You can't, and this is working with your spouse, or if you're individually starting your own business, you have to be willing to take a risk. Like there's risk associated with everything. And so seeing, it's very intimidating for Amberly to go out and say, I'm going to start selling bread, to anybody and everybody in Riverside who wants it. There's a risk associated with that. There's a variety of considerations, but she was able to assume that risk, and since then it's blown up. So you have to be able to put that step forward, push aside any insecurities that you might have, any anxieties, because it's so easy for those things to make you just get stuck in the mud and not take that step forward when you have no idea what's going to happen if you do take that step forward, and hopefully it's something great.
I love this. I'm hearing the role of cheerleader a lot, in that. And I think that that's one of the, to literally have your cheerleader there and get to work with them.
If you're taking notes, I have some books that I'd like you guys to read.
Love it.
Yes.
Love it.
There is a book called All In by Mark Battleman. If you're deciding between, Lord, do you want me to go this way or do you want me to go this way? And both choices are amazing and you just don't know, read this book, All In. It will change you. And it'll help you make the decision. It helped me step out of education and into commercial real estate. The next one I mentioned already, Traction. If you want to, if you're gonna open up your own business or you're gonna, be a business owner, you have to read this book. It's a great model to start with, and it helps you build all the things that we've been talking about. How do you go about starting a business? This book will help you. Anything written by John C. Maxwell. He is my absolute favorite author. He is an amazing, amazing coach and motivator, and he's amazing. And 2 more. The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. Have to read that one. And the last one, Good to Great by Jim Collins.
And who's the author of Traction?
That's a great question. Gino
Wickman, Gino
Maybe
Wickman.
it's a
That's
Google.
it. I think it's Gino Wickman.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. That was one of the questions, so thank you. Okay, just a couple more. Let's see, for Amberly and Kendall. Take my glasses off. Amberly, you spoke about your business being an act of service and love for your community. Can you share a specific instance where you felt your faith directly impacted a customer or an interaction through your business?
That's a good question. Like I mentioned, I normally do porch pickups, so people just come and grab their bread off of the shelf on our porch. And so I don't interact with everybody face to face every week. So when I get to go do a marketplace, that's a lot of fun for me to be able to talk with people. And there have been people that are like, oh, I've been buying your bread for weeks, or I followed you on social media and I'm so excited to meet you or something. So that's a lot of fun for me to be able to get to interact with people that way, because it's just not the model that I have right now, which is fine. But I would say there have been multiple people either meeting in person that is life-giving for me, or they'll go out of their way to send me a message after and tell me how much they enjoyed the bread or how much their family enjoyed the bread. Or there was we were talking about it earlier. Once you see one sourdough micro bakery, you're going to see 1,000. There's just a bunch of people that know how to make good bread. And I have a Instagram friend, Jackie, and she has another friend in Corona. Long story short, the Corona one's customer needed bread because her niece was having surgery and her doctor recommended sourdough for the gut healing and fermentation, all the good stuff about sourdough. Anyways, she wasn't baking bread that week, and neither was Jackie. And so then they got to me. And so I was able to, she ordered bread from me, and then long story short, I ended up going to deliver it to her and just gave it to her for free because of their situation. So that was a really cool opportunity to just be like, hey, Jesus loves you and you don't need to pay for this bread. Like, there's a lot going on in your life. I hope that this just blesses you and your family in this really, really hard situation. So that type of circumstance is not the most frequent, but there have been some like that where it's like, okay, God put me here so that she can have this bread, you know?
Oh, I love that. Yeah, just kind of going before you
Yes.
and like kind of preparing that.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome. So for Heidi and Joe, you mentioned the importance of setting boundaries between business and personal life. What's one specific challenge you faced in establishing those boundaries, and how did you overcome it?
A kid, having a child.
Most challenging thing ever.
So fair.
We only have one. They have three.
Yeah, I think we used to joke, right, when we had Jetty, our son, that, you know, we had a business baby at the time, and we also had Jetty, right, our son. And the business has become easier, actually, to manage than
Really?
having a toddler. Yeah, now he's a toddler, he's 4. And it's a transition for us. We're such achiever personalities, and we've got goals and a vision and a plan. And he's a part of it now, but he whines and cries and stays up late or doesn't go to bed, and so it's challenging.
So I'll give you like 2 tips, really. One, just talk it out. You're going to be arguing a little bit once in a while. You're going to have those heated talks. Talk it out and get to a point where you both are agreeing, like, yes, this is great. One other thing, though, that we do have is we have a life coach. We meet with her twice a month. We talk things through. Sometimes we're talking about business because we want to be scaling our business, and we have, agents. We want to, bring on more. Sometimes we're like, oh my gosh, Jetty is going through something. We got to talk about our son. And sometimes we're just talking about our communication and how we're having lack of or too much or anything in between. And our life coach is the one that gave some suggestions, like, hey, let's put in some boundaries. You guys are going to talk business during the day. You're going to talk marriage stuff at night. You guys okay with that? Great. Agreed. Okay, great. And so that was so simple. I'm like, why didn't we figure that out 7 years ago, right? So sometimes just talking it out with someone that you trust, whether you're paying them or someone that you just both trust, totally worth it. So get a mentor for your life, and also get a mentor when you are married, and ask other people, how do you guys go through this? Everyone goes through things. How do you get through this?
I love that. Okay, final question for the grand prize. No, this is just the final question. For all panelists, if you could go back to the beginning of your journey as a couple in commerce, what's one piece of advice grounded in your faith that you would have given yourself? Kind of back, like for you guys, it would just be last year, 2024, but for you with your going back to 2018, is there some kind of advice you would give to your younger self?
Yeah, to just trust in God's plan. Like the vision of our company, just to get better at your skill, your craft, your practice, and give it to somebody else, give it to somebody. And it's really not a risk, right? Because God is going to provide. And it just gives you so much courage to continue to get better at whatever you want to do, and then go out and give that away and see what happens. You're not going to be chasing a buck anymore.
Yeah, if I can take it one step further, do you mind? If
Not
I
at
go
all.
back to my 20s, if I was sitting in your spot right now, I would love to know this one piece of information. I think it would have propelled my career no matter what career I went into. So John C. Maxwell, my favorite author, he gives this point, and he gives it to you so clearly. In our day and age right now, we are consumed with hearing about follow your passion, follow your heart. Where's your heart leading you? I say no. And John C. Maxwell says no. He says, follow your strengths. You are better at something, a skill, right now, sitting in this room, than anyone else in this room. That's the skill you need to work on. So John C. Maxwell did a lot of research, and he said that if you work really hard at something, one skill, think of one skill, whether it's marketing, whether it's leadership, whether it's coaching, whatever it is, it's one skill. You work so hard on it. You give your time, your money, your energy, you're going for it. You can improve your score in your mind, however you scored yourself, 2 points. So let's just say you started at a 4 at something and you worked really, really hard. You can get to a 6 in life. You want to go from below, average to a right above average? No. Find something that you're already a 7 at, that you already know how to do, that you're already successful at, and then work really hard on that skill. Then you go from a 7 to a 9. You go from better than anyone in this room to better than anyone in Riverside at your skill. Then your passion, that will come later. Work on your strengths.
Oh my gosh, I want to hire you as a life coach. Like, I need her advice.
It's all my reading that I do. I'm telling you, read.
Dang, yes, yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. I just love that. Any other final comments? Anything that is burning that you would like to share before we close up?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, one book that I love is Crazy Love by Francis Chan, and in that book he talks about you don't want to have this like lukewarm relationship with God. You want a relationship with God that's just on fire, that's constantly developing. You never want to be stagnant in your faith. You just always want to be developing that relationship. And I try to apply that into my job every day, and even like encouraging us to apply that to the business. One of my least favorite terms that I've heard in the workplace is, if it's not broke, don't fix it. I hate that term. And I tell every single one of my teams that I work with, consultants, that when we're supporting a client, that's never a phrase that I want to hear come out of anybody's mouth, because just because something's not broke doesn't mean it can't be better. And so we're constantly looking to perfect things and to make it better. Are you ever going to perfect something? No, there's always going to be room for improvement, and that's okay. And so always seeking that room for improvement. Like Apple didn't wait to release the iPhone until it was, until it's in its shape that it is today, right? It's constantly evolving. And so if you wait until something is perfect before you start to release it or before you start to sell it, then you're never going to start to sell it. It's not going. And so, kind of relating back to my point earlier, take that step and then always be looking to improve what you have and improve how you're doing things today.
Oh, I love that. I think on that, I would love it if we could give them a round of applause to just say thank you. Thank you so much, panelists, for sharing the things that you shared with us tonight. And Dr. Gramling, do you have any other last thing to say? Let me go ahead and hand this off to you.
Well, thank you. Our panelists can remain there. I'm so grateful that we've had an opportunity to share tonight. And so I wanted to, now that I have the mic, thank two other individuals. First, I'm very grateful to Dolores Washington, who's my assistant and helped us tonight. So let's give Dolores a huge hand. And we have our own Director of Academic Operations, Raquel Patterson. Thank you very much for your assistance as well. And we have one other individual who's been helping us tonight. Perhaps you can introduce her.
Oh, here we go.
This is Jessica. She's part of our marketing team. She's helping us out tonight.
She's awesome, and she's been, Doc. I think that's one of the things that I really like. That you do well is you tell your story.
Thank you. We work hard on that.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. So with that, can we all please stand? Being a Baptist preacher, I don't feel like it's a closeout unless we're standing. So let's stand. There'll be no offering, though. You don't have to worry about that. But nonetheless, we are grateful for all of you tonight. Let's take a moment. Let's bow our heads and let's pray. God, we are grateful to you for allowing us to hear this amazing story from these two couples, a testimony for what life can be when it is yielded to you. God, I pray that you help us to reflect, to apply what we've learned, and most of all, to seek out how we too can be at our best when we don't walk alone. I know you're able. I ask you to help us to accomplish it all, to honor you in the earth. In Jesus' name, amen. God bless you and have a wonderful evening. Thank you very much.